By Associated Press, published 1753 Greenwich Mean Time, the 1st of November 2019, updated 1919 Greenwich Mean Time, the 1st of November 2019, Washington, AP. The ascension of Paula White as an official member of Donald Trump's White House highlights how closely the president is relying on his inner circle of evangelical Christian supporters as he fights an impeachment probe during his re-election bid, while giving liberal evangelicals a new opening to push back at his administration's mingling of religion and policy-making. White is a televangelist who has sparked division among fellow Christians over her association with the so-called prosperity gospel, an assertion that God rewards believers with personal as well as financial success. She's also frequently identified as personal minister to the president and is now set to become an advisor heading Trump's Faith and Opportunity Initiative, according to a White House official. In some ways, White's new position only formalizes her long-standing influence in the White House. The 53-year-old has known Trump for more than 15 years, and frequently meets with the president alongside fellow evangelical Christian advisors, including a White House visit this week where the group laid hands on Trump in prayer. But White is a more contentious figure within her faith than other pro-Trump evangelicals and was the subject of a years-long investigation into her finances by Iowa Republican Sen. Chuck Grassley. That profile makes White, who uses her married name White Cain, a compelling symbol for liberal Christians who are making an increasingly vocal appeal to religious Americans who do not align with Trump's broader political agenda. The rise of the religious left has been given a shot in the arm every time Trump doubles down on his white evangelical base, said Guthrie Graves Fitzsimmons, a religious activist on the left who created an anti-Trump network called the Resistance Praise. Yes, he may score short-term political points, but in the long term, he really is energizing and mobilizing this whole swath of people who are religious and are astonished by what's happening with the Paula Whites of the world. Jonathan Wilson Hartgrove, a liberal evangelical preacher who works with the progressive group Red Letter Christians, said White's use of her ministry to exploit the poor should be of real concern to all people of faith. File, in this August 27, 2018 file photo, President Donald Trump smiles as Pastor Paula White prepares to lead the room in prayer, during a dinner for evangelical leaders in the state dining room of the White House. White now has a formal role in the administration with the Public Liaison Office, which oversees outreach to constituent groups seen as key parts of the president's base. The move giving the Florida-based televangelist an administration job is seen as another step to solidify his evangelical base as his re-election bid ramps up. AP photo, Alex Brandon. File, while we often frame religion in public life as progressives to conservatives, it's important to say that even within that frame, Paula White is an extremist and always has been, Wilson Hartgrove said. The White House role for White, whose ministry did not immediately return an interview request, was first reported by the New York Times. White distanced herself from the prosperity gospel in a 2017 statement that said she would reject any theology that doesn't affirm or acknowledge the entirety of scriptural teaching about God's presence and blessing and suffering as much as in times of prosperity. The Florida-based White's website features a pitch for followers to purchase a $130 favor seed in order to help battle an enemy of debt, depression, a job, or a health issue prevailing against you. The White House initiative she will advise was created by the Trump administration last year to help faith-based groups partner with the federal government. White's advisory role, according to the executive order setting up the initiative, empowers her to suggest changes to policies, programs, and practices that affect the delivery of services by faith-based and community organizations, beyond White's new position. Trump's meeting this week with his closest conservative evangelical supporters included some discussion of how they would try to energize their contacts on the president's behalf, according to attendee Tony Perkins of the Family Research Council. Perkins said that while the Tuesday meeting with Trump was not entirely a planning session, attendees did perform a quick inventory of their own networks to determine what we can do to help the president. Several of us have daily radio programs and some of us have TV programs and some of us lead very large churches and ministries, Perkins said. It was more looking around the room and how do we be more intentional about getting this out there and using the platforms that we already have, Shore reported from New York. Associated Press religion coverage receives support from the Lilly Endowment through the Religion News Foundation. The AP is solely responsible for this content. File, in this Feb. 1. 2017 file photo. President Donald Trump takes his seat next to National Rifle Association's NRA Executive Vice President and Chief Executive Officer Wayne LaPierre Wright, and Pastor Paula White of the New Destiny Christian Center, in the Roosevelt Room of the White House in Washington. White now has a formal role in the administration with the Public Liaison Office, which oversees outreach to constituent groups seen as key parts of the president's base. The move giving the Florida-based televangelist an administration job is seen as another step to solidify his evangelical base as his re-election bid ramps up. AP photo. Pablo Martinez Monsiváis. File. In this July 18, 2016 file photo, Pastor Paula White delivers the benediction at the close of the opening day of the Republican National Convention in Cleveland. White now has a formal role in the administration with